Let's get on one accord.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh, you was with me. Okay. I was like, what?
I mean,
It wasn't the same instrument. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I was blended.
We're here, day 8 of Is Sir J Serious About Podcasting or Not? And today, yeah, that's what this is.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a official show rollout kind of thing. As explained previous times before with previous guests and just myself, I am committing to 30 days of doing this, 30 consecutive days. And then at that point, if I pull that off, then this whole podcasting thing is real, and maybe I can throw some marketing dollars into it, or maybe I can just actually let the world know that I got a podcast. But to me, I don't have a podcast if I don't have actual,
Content?
Yeah.
Or like a theme?
Yeah, and not only just having content, but just having commitment to podcasting.
That is also needed, yes.
Everybody in their minds like, yeah, I got a podcast going or whatever. It's like, yeah, I record once every 3 months kind of thing. But anyway, we are joined today by a very special individual. She is a very talented person. She has had 2 children. So as you could imagine, she has skill sets that are undefiled. And
I'm gonna just introduce myself at this point.
she has the skills that would impregnate her.
Sergey, I don't want to be introduced to your podcast in such a sexually
salacious and scandalous.
Yeah.
I personally find that it is glorifying to the Lord.
That's what you lead with, though?
Well, I said you were talented and you had...
In the bedroom.
No, before that, I said something else.
What'd you say?
You were a very special person. Special to me. Very talented photographer. A brilliant accountant. And a loving mother is one Marissa A. Starks. Give it up for... I should make an applause.
I'm also his wife, by the way. You didn't get to that part, but...
A loving wife.
Well, no, I could have been somebody completely random.
Oh, yeah, that's...
But you didn't specify I'm your wife.
Yeah, it makes sense to give, the relation to me. Yeah, for sure. Yes, this is my lovely wife.
You just started out with she got 2 kids and...
Yeah. They not mine. All right, but... No, actually, I was going to get around to it because one of the main reasons or the main things I wanted to talk about was being the wife of a DJ and kind of some things, some challenges, some thoughts, all of that. Right. So when Dame was in here yesterday, I talked to him about just kind of the beginning of like how we came to know each other as DJs or as friends. Whatnot, but one of the questions I asked him was, what did he see when first engaging me? Now, for you, Dame met me as associate, would eventually become friend, but associate and DJ at the same time. Mm-hmm. You kinda, because I was DJing when we met. No, I wasn't DJing when we met.
When we first met,
yeah. So you have a couple parts of, I guess
I never really looked at you as Sergey the DJ.
Yeah.
It was just knew you as Sergey.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you DJ'd until maybe a couple years later.
Did you know I was DJing before we like?
Yeah, I remember. Well, no, I didn't know you were DJing until you started doing your ciphers, and when I started seeing them.
Okay. That makes sense.
Before then, because you didn't really post much about it, at least to the point where I saw it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I didn't know about your DJing, and that was something that you legit did until you were doing your ciphers.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Mm-hmm. I never really realized that. Like, that she didn't even know.
Nope.
I got this, by the way, this is totally random, but I got this thing about touching this mic throughout the podcast. Only, but like, when I was
something to fiddle with. Like
it's like a habit that I developed from watching podcasts and like
okay.
not even mostly podcasts because only podcasters really fiddle with their mics. In college, this was a no-go.
I could see why.
And like one, just how these mics are even put out. These don't have shock mounts on them. Like they have pop filters, but they don't have shock mounts on them, which are supposed to stop you from being able to hear all of that.
But people like that now, so
yeah, and it comes across as authentic. But like everything that I was taught in college has been like stripped away in terms of
yeah. I mean, ASMR is a whole career.
Yeah,
where that's all you do is make noise in the mic. It actually is kind of soothing though.
Yeah, sometimes.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickle.
You're ridiculous. Getting back to the conversation, when you meet Serjay, what comes through your mind?
Okay. Let's take it back to September 2011. I am 17, a month away from being 18.
For the record, today's date is June the 29th, 2023.
Yeah, so long time ago. But yeah, I am in my freshman year of college. I've been a freshman for a month and a half, maybe 2 months, maybe 3. But young California girl living and doing college in Denton, Texas. I am currently dating, not even dating at that point. I am talking to a guy who I haven't known that long because, mind you, I've only been out there for 2 to 3 months. But anyway, I'm in his apartment with a girlfriend of mine, and we are just in there to be there. And then I see this tall, dark-skinned dude with locks. Now, mind you, I had a little thing for locks not too long ago at this point. So I was still, naturally attracted to dark-skinned guys with locks. But at that point, I think your persona was that immediately of big bro. You just gave that off immediately. And I don't know if it was simply because of how you introduced yourself. But you were just super cool. And I remember thinking that oh, he's cool. And it honestly made the guy that I was dating look better because it just it's oh, well, you have
association.
Yeah. The people that are around you are warm and comforting. So that not only makes me feel comfortable being here, but it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about you. Now, I didn't know the extent of y'all's relationship at that time, but initial reaction or initial impression was, oh, okay. He's super cool. And I think you struck up some small talk conversation, but it was conversation. I've been to other people's apartments and their roommates is just hi and bye, literally. Mm-hmm. Especially if they're bringing a girl over. It was all right, what's up? I'm going to my room. Yeah. But you were I think I had noticed your room and I was oh, is this on all over your walls or whatever?
Yeah, I had some of this stuff going on in there.
Yeah, you had a lot of stuff going on. But
that was my first podcast. Second.
I think you were playing Christian rap. And that summer before the current fall that we were in, I had just been introduced to Christian rap. And so I was kind of excited to have a conversation with somebody else about it. And I remember that became our I guess I don't want to say thing, but something that we always brought up because I had said that I wanted you to put some songs on my iPod at the time. And so anytime I ever saw you after that, which was super rare, it'd be so when you go put some songs on my iPod or whatever. And that was that. You probably don't even remember that. But yeah, so that was the extent of my initial engagement with you was that you were just super cool Christian dude and big bro.
Okay, so
and he also positioned himself that way as well, rightfully so, because I was young and immature, and I'm clearly talking to or fooling around with a guy that did not go anywhere, and I'm sure you saw all of that. It was like, this little girl don't know what she doing.
Yeah, yeah. These little girls, both of y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I didn't get too much involved in none of their business. It was 4 of us in that apartment. I was the 3rd oldest. Steven was the oldest out of all of us. He kind of had his own thing going on. I don't remember if he had a job or not, but like he was like older than us. Mm-hmm. I was 20. Steven had to be like 24, 25, something like that. And then because Steven had a job or whatever, and then like kind of decided to come back to school and finish. And so I think he was kind of like there finishing up. So he was a little bit older than, you know what I mean? But activity wise and lifestyle wise or whatever, he related to, you know, the other 2 way more than I did.
They were definitely,
you know what I'm saying,
on the scene.
So, you know, yeah, them sitting out in the living room, drinking, doing whatever, that was a thing for them. For me, not so much. I was in and out or in my room or, you know, at work, whatever. And so lifestyle wise, I didn't really, you know, get into too much of their stuff. But I would hear stuff here and there. And then in an attempt to have some sort of relationship, honestly, just kind of share the gospel, being a loving figure of Christ in their lives or whatever. Maybe I cut, you know, one of their hair or, you know, hang out every now and then. And in that case, when y'all came in, that was just another one of those attempts. It's like, you know, they got some folks outside. I think I was about to start my
You were cooking something.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
To cook. So, you know, I'm out here. I'm not going to just be that weird, rude roommate who's like, what's up? And then you see me for the next hour cooking up something. And then, yeah, because I remember y'all asking me what I was cooking or something like that, too.
I just remember being so just young. And at the time, the friend that I had, she talked a lot. And so I do remember us just being just, I don't want to say nosy, but probably just young.
Yeah.
Young girls just, what you doing? Oh, okay. Just young.
Yeah. And shockingly, in no part of college did I have any like reception to that. Like I was always of the mindset of like, these kids, even with girls that.
That's great. Because most older guys did not look at freshmen that way. They were definitely looking at us as
fresh meat
opportunities.
Yeah. I was a freshman looking at juniors that way. Like this child, where her daddy at?
You know what? You still do that.
Yeah, for sure.
You still do that.
Anyway, so that's your experience with meeting Sergey. When you come to learn about Sergey the DJ, what's your first thought?
So like I said, I didn't really know you were a DJ until your ciphers started coming out.
And I wasn't Sergey the DJ then either. I mean, by the time I took on the name Sergey the DJ.
Oh, I didn't really know much about that until prayer movement. We got together? Oh, okay. Yeah, mainly when we got together, because even when you were helping me with the prayer movement in 2016, I didn't really hear you talk too much about DJing and all that. Quite honestly, I didn't hear you didn't really talk about DJing and being booked and busy or your aspirations for that until we were dating. And I'm like, so what you want to do with your life? And you're like, I want to DJ. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And every time you said that when we dated, it would always be like really? Because you weren't really active. It's nowhere near as much as you are now. Mm-hmm. Or when Alondra was born.
Yeah.
Like prior to Alondra being born, you weren't like active like that.
Yeah.
So it was always like a, all right. It just didn't like match.
Yeah.
So.
What do you mean? What didn't match? Like my personality to the skill set, or like the?
No, not the personality. What you were saying versus what you were doing. It didn't match.
Got you. So coming into, because actually the name Sergey the DJ, I think came around the time we started dating, because, or maybe right before that. But now you're dating this guy. He's going to be a DJ. I know it was a conversation of ours. What is your thought process as a wife or wife to be? Your man of interest says, this is what I'm doing with life. I'm going to be a DJ. And I'm asking this question for you to speak to a young lady out there.
I think, well, with you specifically, I slowly, maybe rather quickly, gathered that although you try your best to have weight in your words and what you say, your actions speak a lot louder than that. And in most cases, you are a lot quicker to speak before you process what you're saying and what you mean and the weight of all of that. And so at some point I just gathered that, and I'm like, okay, I can see by his actions that he is extremely loyal, and what he holds dear to him or what he considers important, he's going to treasure it and make sure it's taken care of. And so if I'm included in that, I quickly gather that you're going to take care of me. And you also had a job, like, and you got that job because you needed to make a living for yourself. Like, it wasn't something that you necessarily wanted to do or like dreamed of doing, but at that moment in time, that's just something that you needed to do, and you had an opportunity and you took it to ensure a life for yourself. And so I was more so looking at those characteristics, not necessarily. So you saying I want to be a DJ, it did kind of throw me off, because again, you weren't actively pursuing it at the time.
Yeah. And I wasn't saying I want to be a DJ. I was saying I'm going to be a DJ.
Yeah, you were like, I'm going to be a DJ. Yeah. This is how I'm going to provide and, live my life kind of thing. So hearing that, I had to look at your character and what you've shown me rather than that statement. Because if I did just look at that statement, and I would have resulted to, okay, well, you're not really doing anything to pursue that right now. I can't trust what you say.
Yeah.
And therefore, I can't trust my placing my life into your hands when you say you're going to be a DJ, but you're doing nothing. Well, not nothing. You're not doing much to that end right now.
Yeah. What's interesting is, to me, I wouldn't use a terminology like not doing much or not doing. At the time, I thought I was doing a lot, especially given where I was at in life. Around the time we started dating, or like, or prayer movement even, especially with the ciphers. So like with the ciphers, in between the ciphers, there were like pockets of. So see, you would have came around right in between my second and third cipher, right? So I was working on summer cipher, Oklahoma City, with Sean C. Johnson, and
I like Sean C. Johnson.
Yeah. And so I was promoting heavy. And even before that, like, the 2K party or whatever, before you moved back to California, Like I was throwing parties, 90s parties, 2K parties or whatever. So between like me gigging, I was doing a lot with like events and ciphers. And then like I worked my day job or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also had like wedding gigs, right? But
I didn't know. I wasn't privy to any of that, really.
In all fairness, like Instagram and social media wasn't then what it is now, especially in terms of like influencers and people being on it regularly to promote what they do. At the time, I wasn't so much like using Instagram as a means to show my work and like show what in fact, at the time, I don't think my profiles were like named after. Yeah, my profile was Raviante 24. Like it was my middle name and my birthday. Like it wasn't like Sergey the DJ. You know what I'm saying? And when I would do an Instagram post, this is back when you could only do like 15-second videos. It was like, yeah, so I got a gig today, and I'm kind of like showing BTS stuff or just like my lifestyle, as if people care about my lifestyle. No one cares about your lifestyle. Show us a video of the actual event, right? So I was seldomly ever like posting videos of the event until right around the time where we got together. So that makes sense, like especially given you going back to California, you wouldn't see a lot of what I was actually doing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and then, cause I'm thinking like during the season that we dated, you had just gotten your teaching job and you were studying for your cert a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really recall even one night when you DJ'd something.
Really?
Yeah.
I can recall several times like sending you videos from the gig. I remember one in particular.
When
I was
we
playing.
were dating?
Yeah. I remember one time I shot a video of me singing You're My Lady by D'Angelo from a wedding.
Oh, you right.
I sent it to you.
You did do that a couple times.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. I was gigging heavy when things were starting to become a little.
I don't know why I don't really remember that, but
yeah.
Also, we were long distance people, so
yeah, that's what I was saying. Like when you,
I never physically saw anything.
I remember you coming to town. You came with me to the gig at those rich people's house. It was like a really nice house in downtown Dallas.
We were married.
Like were we married? We couldn't have been married at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That was summer.
It was like a prom. It was like on a little turf part.
Mm-hmm.
We were married at that point.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I was pregnant by that
Couldn't
time.
have been.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have brought you. Really?
Yeah.
That's
I remember.
crazy.
Yes, I remember working at Marriott around that time.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I was definitely like able to not just pay some bills. I was able to do some extra stuff, fly out to see you, you know.
I mean, well,
do what?
You didn't use your DJ money for that.
Not all the time. Well, to pay it off, yeah. Most of the flights and stuff.
So
like
paid off. Okay.
Yeah. Like I ran up a credit card for sure.
Okay.
But so I don't know if you remember, around the time where I started running up the credit card to come out, I had just come out of paying off my credit card. Because we had a conversation
before we started dating?
Around the time we started dating. I had just like my credit card balance just went down from, and at this time that was like a lot, but I was like, oh, I had like $2,700 in debt after my previous situation and all the, just trying to get back on my feet, whoop. And I was living with, Marshawn and Maddie, cleared that up or whatever. Most of that was I'm living low rent and I'm making gig money in addition to my little part-time job, you know what I mean? While I try to get because remember, when I was trying to get my cert, my first year in education, I wasn't making no money. I had like 3 jobs. Mm-hmm. But those 3 jobs equaled up to like a part-time pay, you know what I mean? And so then the show money kicked in and it was like, all right, now I can afford a gym membership. And you know what I mean? Or, well, after it ran out, like the Christmas gift or whatever that Maddie and Marshawn got me. They got me I think it was like 6 months or a year for a gym membership. But all the stuff that came with that, and then my credit knocked that out, and then boom, you came into the picture. Now I'm finna run this credit card up. But to pay that off, I did a lot of gigging and pay that off too. But that's a whole nother conversation, actually. The whole debt thing coming into. Do you remember how much debt we had when we got married?
Not exactly. I know you had around 6,000 on your credit card. Maybe more than that. Maybe 7 or 8. Somewhere around there. I had a Best Buy balance on my card. I can't remember. It was around 1,000. I want to say
it was 1920, but go ahead.
1920. Oh, really?
Oh, wait. Which one? The Best Buy card, or you had like
I had a Best Buy balance, and I remember me bringing it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, the interest is about to kick in a month or so, so you should pay that out." And then our student loans, I remember you had around 50, and I had around.
I don't count student loans. It's debt.
You just said debt.
Okay,
that was a question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had about 50. I had about 65, 66. So, yeah. And I think that was about it.
Word.
Car. Your car.
Yeah.
That's debt, too.
I guess. So, fast forward, we get married, and a lot happens. Mm-hmm. We get married, we get pregnant the same day we get married. We have that baby. And
we also moved into the house.
I was getting there. Before we had that baby, we actually, before. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, go back.
Let's start with my timeline. A lot was happening for me, too. Before we even got to that. October 2018, we get engaged. January 2019. I pack everything in my just purchased car, and we drive to Dallas. And so I'm in Dallas permanently, moving with my aunt for about 3 months or so while we prepare to get married. And I'm also looking for a job too, because I quit my job in California. So I'm looking for a job during that time.
You remember the savings meter?
Oh yeah. I was saving up a lot of money because I was working a decent job in San Francisco, and I was living with my parents, so I was able to save some money before coming out there. But anyway, we're in March of 2019. I find a job. We then elope. Don't tell anybody that we eloped except for our planner. Mm-hmm. She was the only one that knew. And we go on our mini honeymoon. I get pregnant. And then a month later, we close on the house. Then we have the wedding. And then I lose my job.
How far after us getting married did you lose your job?
We got married in May. I lost my job in August.
Okay.
And I got fired, y'all. Like, escorted out the building. They shut all my access, all that. Unnecessarily, but you know. It was traumatic, is what I'm trying to say. While I'm pregnant, by the way, and I'm in my first trimester, so my emotions are all over the place. So they knew I was pregnant. Anyway,
I remember you saying your manager, your supervisor was like shaking when they fired you.
Yeah, she was nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know why though, but yeah, she was. Maybe she never fired anybody before, but anyway, yeah. So after that, I get fired, and then we have the baby the following year in 2020, February 2020. Couple weeks after that, pandemic. And then we're in the house for forever. And 2021 comes around. February of 2021, I find out I'm pregnant again. Alondra had just turned 1. And then literally not even a month after, like we're in the middle of the process, we move again.
Same month.
The same, yeah.
At March the end 1st, of that month.
March 1st, we moved. We were in this house.
Yeah.
2021. And then October 2021, we have Heaven. And then after that, I feel like things kind of calmed down. Like we didn't have a lot of that after Heaven.
I disagree.
You quit your job.
I was about to say.
You quit your job.
That is
and decided to go full time.
I was going to say, stuff got real at that point, because that's where, you know, I don't know if there's a your timeline and my timeline, because as you were explaining that, I was like, yeah, I was there. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of like stuff that we did, you know, but there was a lot of, I get what you mean about my timeline, you know, and so I would say in conjunction. We
bled into each other eventually.
Yeah, like I can't say my timeline, but from my vantage, by the time Heaven's born, we have the baby. A week later, we end up back in the hospital because of your blood pressure.
Yeah.
And while we're there, all this drama ensues about who can go upstairs with you. The baby can't go.
Oh, while we were at the hospital.
Yeah, and it was the stupidest thing. It was like, you have a baby at a hospital.
Bro, I just had the baby not even a week ago.
Not 5 days ago.
At that hospital.
At that hospital. That's what I was explaining.
So I go there and they're like, yeah, you can't take the baby up. How am I going to feed this newborn baby?
The reason I'm in the hospital is because I had the baby in this hospital.
Yeah, that was the most craziest COVID related thing.
But all that to say, from my vantage, we're there for those reasons. And while we're there, I'm taking time off. I think I was on paternity leave. Yeah, I'm on paternity leave. But I'm trying to figure out, because I had made the decision or started to entertain going full time at this point, because I'm doing pretty well now, especially in comparison to when we, you know, first got married or first got together. But I was doing pretty well at this point, and I'm comparing salaries between, you know, and having to make that decision. Like, hey, at this point, I can't commit to both.
Yeah, I think I remember saying that, or having the discussion maybe a month or so before Heaven was born, because a lot of your shows were already booked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at the calendar. I'm like, when are you going to be here?
Yeah.
Because I think you had to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like a week after Heaven was born.
I went to Austin.
Yeah, you were just gone like a lot. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
If you go back to work Monday through Friday and then keep up this same momentum on the DJing side, we're never going to see you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get resentful.
Yeah.
I'm also in postpartum.
Yeah.
So that's going to look very scary.
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking to myself. So I do remember us having that conversation.
Yeah. And so out of that conversation, or having had that conversation already, when the whole thing happened, we had to go back to the hospital. I never forget, I'm talking to HR or whoever for the school district, and they get to explaining like how my benefits essentially were going to work. And they struck a nerve with me. I can't even remember exactly what it was. I just remember it was just like a shady thing. It was like, because you're on, essentially the way things unfolded, it was like, if you take this time off and you use your PTO, cool. But then they had like a part of my benefits where I could extend my leave, but because
it was
of like
come out of your paycheck or something.
No, it would like invert. she was explaining that somehow, somewhere. I wish I remembered so that I could communicate this clearly. But essentially, she said over the phone, "You would owe." And once she used the words "you would owe," I was like, "I'm sorry." Like I heard you say, because the district, they were like, it wasn't just like, hey, you have a contract to work for 2021. No, not at all. It was like, hey, you have a contract that says you work 182 days. And out of that 182 days, you have this many hours of PTO. But if you sacrifice this percentage of your check at the very beginning of the contract, you can be a part of this whatever benefit, so that in the event that you break your leg or you need to be out longer than that assigned amount of PTO, you can at a, you would have job protection, but we wouldn't be paying you kind of thing. Right. So it was essentially prepaying for job protection. Right. But then outside of those days, well, now you owe us because your contract says you would be working this many days and you start to miss those. And this is the cost of those days, I guess, because of, I don't know, subs or whatever. But it was, once she said the words "you would owe," I was like, you gonna charge me, bro? And shouts out to all of the educators, all the teachers. It is a very difficult job to do, because it is not just teaching. And so, in addition to all that's been endured in the classroom, I'm now enduring that alongside, because mind you, before I go take my PTO to see my baby be born, I got to make a whole plan and all of this stuff. I got to prep stuff for the person that's going to be here in my place, blah, 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 blah. And I still got hit up once or twice during my PTO about, hey, where'd you put this? Blah, 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 blah. We need your password to yada, yada. You know what I mean? Anyway, when she said that, I was like, it's not worth it. And there is nothing worse. I talk to your dad about this every now and then. Like, it's nothing worse than listening to a supervisor or somebody who think they got a level of authority over you. And it's like, they have no clue. Dog, I make 3 times your salary, dog, outside of what we're doing here, kind of thing. I'm here for, like, literally just the benefits, you know what I mean? Or like literally just because I love kids enough to have stayed here another year, or, whatever. At that time I wasn't making 3 times, but I was doing well. It was easier to make the decision, because right when she said "you would owe," I was like, all right, well, I'm out.
Yeah. And I think when that started to happen, I remember you bringing it up, or bringing up that you were considering leaving, but I don't think you did the numbers yet.
Nah. I sat and did. I don't know if you remember that little suite on the side.
I remember the point of me looking at the numbers and going, oh. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here in this suite that's connected to your hospital room or whatever. And she says that I started doing some numbers on like the back of an envelope or something like that. And I'm just like, all right. So then I'm like yelling stuff back at you. Okay, so if I do this and blah, 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 if I leave, I can do this a month, and it literally started there. So then I leave my job as a teacher. I go full time, and it's just me for the most part. But then while I was in school, I met Dame and I met Marie. And then this turns, because of the way business goes, this turns from sole proprietor Sergey, who's able to, and I feel comfortable. Like, I remember the first time we hit 6 figures or whatever, it was like, oh, and I think that was about that next year, right? It was like, oh shoot, but we had Heaven in October of 2021. I remember April or May of 2022. Last year, I was telling Darrell, like, oh shoot, I didn't realize this could happen, right? Hit 6 figures this fast in sales, right? But it was like, I can't do this dolo. Like, and so that's where the multi-op thing happened. And for me, that's like another, we were talking about thresholds earlier, where it's like, okay, that kind of changes the game, because in my mind, instead of me being out, going and doing the gigs in Austin and whatever, I can have people working underneath our brand and hopefully be home for my girls you know, in this super crucial time. You know what I mean? By girls, I mean all three of y'all. And so that was kind of a change up. It still is kind of a change up because now it's a juggling act. But that timeline gets us to now. And so now, what do you feel about being the wife of a DJ? How do you feel? Do you feel like it's different?
Well, yeah, because I don't really look at you as DJ first anymore.
Sure.
So,
I mean, you never have, I don't think.
Well, yeah, before you brought in the booth company, that's what you were doing.
Oh, okay. Professionally, you don't look at me as a DJ first.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
It's hard for me to answer the question, how do you feel as the wife of a DJ? Because yes, that's part of your profession, but I'd say that I live more of a life of an entertainment entrepreneur, not necessarily a DJ. So I think I could answer that question a little bit better.
Sure, go for it.
I'd say that coming from a person who is structured in nature and prefers the planning more than the execution, which are all opposite of who you are, it is very interesting as a wife, because it requires me to be in this space that is not my default. It's not natural for me. And it can feel uncomfortable when you want to take risks on things. You have ideas that I may not see as clearly as you, or I just may see it very differently. And essentially trust in your process, whether that's your creative process, your thought process, your business process. I just have to trust that. And that took some time to get to. But I think what kickballed it was when I agreed to you going full time. Like that was a big thing for me, because that immediately meant that we no longer have the safety net of a steady paycheck coming every month, and to really trust that you, at the end of the day, would take care of us, whether that's through DJing, whether that's through DFW 360 booths, photo booths, whether that's through some other hustle you come up with, or you decide to go get another job. I don't know. But that was the first time that I really just like let go and trust you to do your thing. And it's kind of been that same. It's kind of been the same for me since then, and just learning and relearning to trust you, and have a lot of hope and faith that the things that you want to do will work itself out. Because I know that there's going to be times where you're going to fail at something, but in that failure, the hope is that you'd become a better businessman, that you would learn valuable lessons that could eventually turn into successes. And you definitely have an entrepreneurial mind, in that you're always like thinking of something else to do.
Yeah.
Whether that's adding another service to an already established business or creating an entirely new business altogether or merging two businesses into one. Like you just think that way. So because of that, I know that there are going to be opportunities for you to apply whatever the heck you learned here and put it over here. So yeah.
Would you say altogether, and this is the last question, we'll be out. Would you say altogether your experience with being married to a DJ has shown you something about yourself, or more so enabled you an opportunity to do something different? Which would you lean towards?
I don't know. I feel like those are two like totally different experiences.
Mm-hmm. But
to the point where I can't compare the two and lean on one or the other because it feels very 50-50.
Oh, okay.
I'd say that most of the time I do feel like I think through things that I want to do that I don't have the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
More so than what is this teaching me or what is this showing me about myself? So I guess if I had to compare the two, I'd lean more towards being enabled, or however you phrase the question.
Being able to experience something new. I think it's how I said it.
Wait, so when you say being enabled, you mean not being able to do certain things, right?
No, I mean, or not even being enabled, just being married to a DJ. Does it more so teach you something about yourself, or was it more so the experience? Was it a lesson or an experience of something new?
I don't think I understand the question
Oh, okay.
completely. Oh,
we'll edit that part out.
Okay.
I was like, I don't really know how to. I just kind of froze, and you was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't really have a better way of explaining that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I do from my vantage, I do see a lot of you as my significant other, like adjustment. And that's kind of where my last question came from, was like, you seem to approach, my next thing or whatever a little bit differently now than what you would have 5 years ago. It's crazy, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking. Like, I wonder if it's more of I don't know. Well, yeah. This is over. How long do you think we've been doing this?
Probably an hour. I've been thinking off and on about it. Like,
I gotta get back to it. I gotta get out of here. It's been 49 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the conclusion of episode. As you were talking earlier, I also remember I probably did not start the recording on the phone.
I thought about that too. I was like, well,
we just gonna post a picture of us doing this.
Oh, you have the audio, right?
Yeah, I have the audio.
Okay.
No video to go with it.
It's a true podcast.
Yes, indeed.
Episode.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with Marissa A. Starks, wife, photographer, accountant, mother, sister, cousin, friend. Anything else you want to add that I forgot?
A follower of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Peace.
Supposed to be the Christ.